Welcome to Walk, Don't Run to the Doctor, where we are helping people avoid the burdens of preventable disease. By using evidence-based lifestyle tools to unlock each person's intrinsic healing ability, we're going to be supporting healthy families, healthy communities, and healthy individuals. Making your own food and moving every day vigorously can help you gain freedom from health debt. We can prove it. Hello, this is Miles Hassell. I am an internist in private practice in Portland, Oregon, and you're listening to Walk, Don't Run to the Doctor. And today we're going to be talking about weight loss and divulging a secret plan that is more effective than Ozempic and similar drugs and entirely free. So we thought some of you might be interested in that. So let's pretend that you're somebody who's listening to this and you need to lose some weight, or you're listening for a friend who needs to lose some weight. At the same time, you don't just want to lose weight, you also want to be healthier. So you're reviewing your options for weight loss. And diet and exercise haven't worked for you in the past. That's why you're where you are, or your friend is where they are. You hate going to the gym. Can't blame you there. Weight loss surgery seems too drastic. And you realize you have to do something. You're on medications maybe with respect to prediabetes or diabetes or cholesterol or high blood pressure, all of them. And you realize that being heavy is increasing your risk of cancer and depression and heart disease and stroke and all these other things. So you think, I got to do something. And so you hear about all these people losing weight on the GLP-1 drugs. That's like Ozempic and Zepbound, Mounjaro and Wegovy. And so we'll talk a little bit about those drugs, and then we'll tell you about our ancient secret agent plan, a 3-step plan that is more effective in the long run, has better health consequences, and is entirely free. Let's have a short history of weight loss drugs to review. So before we talk about the new weight loss drugs, let's talk about the history of weight loss drugs. So these go back to the 1880s, 1890s. And probably the first one was thyroid supplements, desiccated thyroid, and that was effective. And then it caused harm. Something called dinitrophenol came from the explosives industry. Amphetamines, that worked. They're still popular on the street. And fen-phen in the 1990s. And none of these are used now. None of them. They were effective for weight loss. So why aren't they used now? They aren't used now because a lot of people got hurt by the unexpected toxicity of each of these agents, and they were abandoned. But they weren't abandoned before a whole lot of people got rich off their victims. And so this should create some caution for you. Just to use the most recent example, a big example, the fen-phen drugs from the 1990s. These people made so much money that they were able to cough up $3.75 billion in damages to their victims. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to have on the table that you can actually give up. So the basic thing to remember is that Big Pharma does not have a good record in this area. And so let's talk about the newish kids on the block, the GLP-1 drugs that have been out probably since about 2014. And so GLP-1 stands for glucagon-like peptide receptor agonists. And there's also a closely related agent that are dual incretin receptor agonists. And these do have a striking effect on weight loss. We mentioned Ozempic, Zepbound, Wegovy, Mounjaro, and there's probably others out there too. And lots of metabolic benefits have been demonstrated. It should be remembered that in addition to weight loss, there's a lot of metabolic benefits in terms of diabetes reversal, kidney, liver, heart. So if your doctor is recommending them, it's not because he's being malignant. They do have metabolic benefits, but they've also got a lot of harm. Muscle loss is probably the one that concerns me the most. Anesthesia complications, gallbladder and pancreatic complications, tumors, and many more. And so when we talk about many more, remember, always read this information packet that comes with every drug, or you might have to go online if it's an over-the-counter drug. Because those information packets have information that tells you what can go wrong with these drugs. And so you don't want to be a victim. You don't want to choose to be a victim. So the GLP-1 drugs, the weight loss drugs, are also really expensive. We have patients spending $300 to $1,000 a month on these drugs. So just remember the history that we talked about. All weight loss drugs have looked good, have been effective for weight loss until they didn't look good anymore. Because over the passage of time, their harms became more obvious. And so keep that in the back of your mind and don't choose to be a victim of Big Pharma. At the same time, you're saying to yourself, but what alternative is there? I don't have any alternative except to take one of these drugs. And so that's where my ancient secret agent plan is here for you. So we're arguing that there's something that's free, simple, painless, safe, with outstanding long-term health benefits. Health benefits that you will see in the first week. How's that? So now let's talk about my ultra secret 3-step plan for outstanding health and long-term weight loss and weight maintenance for that matter. And not only weight loss, we're actually talking about a plan that will, in many cases, reverse diabetes, abolish high blood pressure, lower risk of heart attack and stroke dramatically, improve cholesterol levels, improve mood. Arguably, what we're about to mention has more effect on depression and anxiety than any of the medications for mental health. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So what are the 3 steps? Step 1, 5 or 6 servings of fruit or vegetables that you identify every evening, ready to be unleashed on your unsuspecting metabolism the next day. Step 2, 3 minutes of exercise per day. 3 minutes, not 3 hours. 3 minutes of exercise every day. And step 3 is reducing refined carbohydrates, although you almost can ignore that sometimes, because if you do step 1, you lose an interest in the refined carbohydrates to some degree. So let's dive down into step 1. Every evening, you have 5 or 6 servings of fruit and vegetables that you identify that are available to be eaten the next day. It could be apples, bananas, oranges, celery stalks, raw broccoli, sliced cucumber is something I would use. It doesn't matter what you choose. It's just got to be 6 substantial servings of something in the fruit and vegetable area. And you might want to tweak it a little bit for yourself. For example, if you chop up apples into quarters and core them and have them in a baggie, for me, I'm much more likely to eat it than if I just had a whole apple. So it's simply easier to reach for. So look for ways to make it easier for you. And then, armed with those 5 or 6 servings every morning, then you eat at least one of the servings before every single meal and snack. This is really important. You've got to be absolutely rigid about this part. So let's pretend you have, a couple of chopped up apples and maybe some celery stalks and a couple of bananas. And you're about to have breakfast. Well, before you have breakfast, you have one of those servings. Let's say that there's coffee and a muffin available at morning tea time. Well, you have one of those servings first. And if you have a banana, you may decide you're not going to eat that muffin at all, or you're only going to eat half the muffin, or a quarter, and so on. So be rigid about that. And remember that these foods you're eating are packed with nutrition and fiber. They replace and reduce how much other food you eat. They feed your gut. They boost your immunity. They protect every organ in your body. Some of them have unique nutrients that we actually know about that have specific effects. For example, celery has a lot of nitrate, which lowers blood pressure in a pharmacologic fashion. There's numerous other compounds that we don't even know about in these other foods. So remember, what you're doing is action-packed for a good metabolism. They also, because of all the fiber in these foods, they also lead to slowed gastric emptying and a sense of fullness, which is exactly what the GLP-1 drugs do, but in this case, without the harm. Our patients report, I think it's safe to say, 2 pounds per week of weight loss and waist loss with this approach. Maybe 1.5 pounds, but definitely well over a pound a week weight loss. And I think we're seeing mostly somewhere around 2 pounds weight loss with this approach. And so you can try it, and you can see if you stick to this rigidly for the first week. See if I'm correct. You don't have to wait months to see results. Weigh yourself once a week and see if I'm right. You'll also see, in most cases, after a few weeks, if you have high blood sugar, dramatically better blood sugars, dramatically better blood pressure in many cases, improved energy. And out of all those foods that we mentioned, we have a sneaky feeling that the celery is the most effective. It seems to fill people up the most. And we won't criticize you if you choose to put a smear of peanut butter or nut butter or seed butter on there to make the celery taste better. Finally, this is still in step 1, the 5 or 6 servings of fruit and vegetables before you eat anything else in the day. All 5 or 6 servings need to be eaten by the end of the day. In other words, your priority is to get all 5 or 6 servings into you, and you make that happen. So now let's move on to step 2, which is getting 3 minutes of exercise per day. You have 3 minutes of exercise, I promise. You don't even have to get dressed. You don't have to put on any makeup. You don't have to do your hair. You don't have to change clothes. But 3 times per day, you get 1 minute of exercise. 1 minute when you get up in the morning, 1 minute somewhere around the middle of the day, 1 minute somewhere later in the day. And it could be anything you want to do as long as it makes you short of breath. Stairs, skipping rope, a fast walk, jumping jacks, light weights, resistance bands, short burst of ping pong with a friend. I don't care. 1 minute, 3 times a day, short of breath. Boost your energy, your mood, your metabolism, your immunity. Did you know that people who exercise regularly, who have cancer, have strikingly lower death or recurrence of their cancer than people who don't? In other words, don't ignore the incredible immune benefits of the exercise, not to mention your brain benefits, heart benefits, and so on. So, step 3 in our secret plan is reducing your refined carbohydrates, or what we would call uncharitably your empty calories. So this is your sweet drinks, juices, breads, pastries, pasta, granola bars, protein bars, all of these fake foods, empty foods that come in from outside your home. And these refined carbs are consistently associated with worse health outcomes. And first of all, if you do step 1, the 5 or 6 servings of fruit and vegetables per day, you're not going to want them as much. So that actually kind of may go away. But look for ways to reduce them and replace them with real food. So think about the breads, pastries, pastas, bars, juices, sweet drinks, caramel lattes that you have during a day, and say, what can I have instead? So, for example, black coffee is not that bad. Get used to it. Having an apple and a few almonds is far better for you than any granola bar or protein bar or breakfast bar. So before you reach for that muffin or caramel latte or ice cream, eat a banana or something else, chopped up apple, orange, celery. And I think you will be amazed at how much your desire for that thing will be reduced, and how much, instead of a whole muffin, you might only have half a muffin or no muffin at all. So the issue here is planning ahead. In fact, the issue for all 3 of these steps is planning ahead and setting your mind to saying, I'm going to take control here. There are a couple of bonus steps we'd recommend as well. So instead of a 3-step secret plan, you could call this a 5-step secret plan, but really step 1 remains the most important. But the 2 bonus steps are eating protein with every meal and snack. This is especially important for people who are just hungry all the time as they do this. So it could be hard-boiled egg, it could be tuna, it could be cheese, it could be meat, it could be chicken. Ignore the calories and the proteins and these pure proteins. Just make sure you cook them yourself. And I think you'll find that that'll give you increased satiety, increased satisfaction with what you're eating. Something else that adds more impact to this approach is having a probiotic foods most days. So that could be plain yogurt or plain kefir or both, flavored to taste with berries or bananas or whatever. Fresh sauerkraut, homemade sourdough. And remember that probiotic foods improve your brain and gut health dramatically. And so they also help improve that sense of satiety. And there's numerous mechanisms of action for them. It's kind of fascinating subject all by itself. Another thing to think about as you're doing this is skip eating out except on special occasions. I don't mean that you can't go out to somebody for their birthday or something like that, or your own birthday. But people don't have birthdays every day, okay? So only go out on special occasions. Think ahead. And no matter how careful you are when you eat out, remember that you're going to be getting hundreds of calories more than if you didn't eat out. And that's largely because of the starches and sugars that are slipped into all commercial foods pretty much. Even things like soup and salad often have a lot of sugars in them. So watch out. Trust nobody. And bring your own lunch to work or school. Keep healthy snacks such as the whole fruit and vegetables that we talk about, a few raw nuts, cheese, anything like that you find satisfying, keep them handy at all times. So you're less trapped, less tempted by foods you shouldn't be eating. Learn simple foods you can prepare at home, and that's where our cookbook, the Good Food, Great Medicine, may really be helpful for you. Make sure you always have healthy leftovers around. So in summary, we have an answer for you that is ancient, simple, cheap, free, you're in control of it, and is more effective for weight loss and long-term health than anything else you're going to be able to do in the drug world. And that's 6 servings of fruit or vegetables a day. So at least 1 serving, which is eaten before you eat anything else, before every meal and snack. And expect this dramatic effect on weight loss and metabolic health that you expect to see in the first week or 2. It will work even better if you include physical activity, such as 1 minute of exercise 3 times a day. Reduce your refined sugars and carbs. And ask yourself as you're doing this, who do you want to be in control of your health, you or Big Pharma? Before we leave the subject of the weight loss drugs, I have a whole pile of articles in front of me from the peer-reviewed medical literature. Articles on these drugs that talk about the effect on muscle loss. These drugs consistently cause muscle loss. The fact that it looks like it can increase diabetic retinopathy complications. Can't be good. How about the possible association of pancreatitis and other gallbladder biliary complications with these drugs? So don't just assume that because your doctor has recommended these drugs that they're a good idea for you. Because I think you have tools that you could use, if you choose, that are better than these drugs. At the same time, these drugs do have some metabolic benefits. And that becomes really confusing to patients quite often because there's a metabolic benefit on one side and then there's a metabolic harm on the other. The trouble is, if we move the clock forward 5 or 10 or 15 years for you, we don't know which one will predominate. So why not just take control? Quit trusting Big Pharma and instead take control of your diet. And one of the interesting aspects of this is sort of twofold. One is people overlook the dramatic benefits of good diet on long-term health outcomes. And remember that good diet is more important than any drug for heart disease, for diabetes, for stroke risk, for cancer risk. And that's often overlooked. And so I'm just looking at one other recent article that just was published about the effect of increasing dietary fiber, where every little bit of dietary fiber reduced your risk of total mortality, especially cardiovascular mortality, in patients with diabetes and prediabetes. So that's just fiber. And yet it saves lives. It's free with your food. So why not concentrate on taking care of yourself so you got this God-given body that's designed to work a certain way? Go with that design. Whole foods, lots of fiber, as little refined foods as you can get away with and still be socially acceptable. One of the things that we sort of like people to think about figuratively, especially people in their middle years, 30s and 40s and 50s, is let's pretend you have some risk factors: high blood pressure, prediabetes, diabetes, high cholesterol, overweight, any of these kinds of things. And you've got a choice of trajectories. One trajectory is you take more and more medications. You still have complications of disease facing you, more drug side effects, more costs, more time spent at doctors. People like me, why would you want to do that? The alternative is to take control of your lifestyle and your own personal education about lifestyle. This approach is more sustainable, more evidence-based. You're going to eat better, you're going to get more exercise, you're going to control your diet, you're going to have fewer risk factors, you're going to have fewer medications, and you're going to have a higher probability of the liberty of a medically independent life. You're going to save a ton of money. You're going to save a ton of heartache. And you're going to help those around you. So once again, I'd like to remind you that we have a book, Good Food, Great Medicine, that talks a lot about these kinds of things. It's available on Amazon and from our local provider, Powell's. It's a book that outlines in greater detail the kinds of things that we're talking about. There's other good books out there too. The key part is, are you willing to take responsibility for your diet and exercise options? Or are you going to farm out your healthcare to Big Pharma. Thank you.